game is called The Plague, and the scenario is don't catch the plague. You're in a post-apocalyptic world where plagiarism is rife in the world's population. Your only hope is to gain enough money to get us to a safe zone and gain immunisation from the plague and becoming a plague zombie. So the learning objective of this game was to do with plagiarism, and it was basically to get students aware enough of the issues of plagiarism to avoid the consequences that it can have on their university career. So it's a basic kind of card game with money, dice and a counter, and it can be played with 2 to 6 players or more if you don't mind teaming up. The goal is to end with the most money at the end of the game for immunisation against the plague, and the side goal is not to end up with the plague counter. Anyone who ends up with the plague counter at the end loses half of their money because obviously they become a plague zombie. The phases of the game are to roll the dice to determine the value of the card. So when you roll, that decides how much you win in money if you get the answer correct, and if you don't get it correct, then that's how much you lose. So the next phase is to draw a card, and then you perform the action on the card, and then the answerer either gains or loses money where applicable from the roll of the dice. Any cards that have a green border are asked to the group, any that have a blue border are asked individually, any that have a yellow border are wild cards. So we have some examples, like a wild card is you have referenced your work perfectly, roll the dice and gain. Or you can have this card, which is bad luck, you've got the plague, or you've plagiarised, gain the plague counter. And there are other options of like moving around the plague counter, and it's basically just to kind of get a little bit of discussion going with plagiarism. Teresa, do you want to like read out one of the cards? I'd quite like to. Yours.
We've got 1 and 2 here. You've listened to a Mark Kermode and Simon Mayer's film review podcast and want to quote it. Do you need to reference it? Is one of them. You've included a quotation from your mother in your work. Do you need to reference it? So they can be quite serious. Some of them are just straightforward, as you would expect, but all sorts of little puzzly ones as well. And some of them that we thought would benefit from discussion. Those are the ones we've given green border, and that throws it open to everybody to have a little discussion and then to make their own decision and then gain or lose money depending on whether they're right or not.
So the game ends when either you've run out of cards to play with or we reach the end of the time limit, so it's a little bit flexible in that way.
Any questions?